Hi, this is Stephanie with This Reader's Life, and I'm glad that you're here. It's Tuesday. It's a Tuesday morning, and I'm using just natural light. So if it looks a little different, that's probably why. And if the sun comes and goes, that's obviously going to make a difference. But anyway, it's today is Tuesday. It is Tag Tuesday, and I was tagged for the book fan behavior tag, which is what I'm going to do today. I was tagged by Pat at Book Chat with Pat, and I was excited to be tagged. It's the first time I've ever been tagged other than generically, which is really nice. But we're just going to get started and run through these. There's quite a few questions here, and they are fun. A couple of them are what-if questions that I'll read through before I answer. But the first question is, do you carefully examine the condition of all copies of a book in a bookstore before buying one? And it's hard to answer this because a lot of my books are Kindle books and have been for several years. I used to go to a bookstore that was a used bookstore all the time. And if there were several copies of a book, especially with paperbacks, I would probably thumb through each of them to make sure that all the pages are there, that there wasn't something really wrong with them. So I'd buy the best one I could find in the group. But I'm not real picky with paperbacks. And I haven't bought a hardback book for so long that I don't know. But and the answer is yeah, I would probably pay a little bit of attention. If yes, are you brazen about comparing them in front of others, or do you wait until it's quieter or other customers have gone? Oh, I would just look at them. I would not. I don't care what other people think. I would just look them over and pick the best one. Do you have a special book buying or book carrying bag that you use? I do not. And many times I've had a big, when I was buying books a lot, I would have a big stack. Sometimes I'd have to leave some at the counter and then come back and stack them up. And then whatever bag they put them in is the bag that I would use. But I don't have a special tote. I do have totes, and if I have one with me, I might take it in with me. But other than that, I do not have anything particular. Number 4 question is, do you have any book reading superstitions? I would say no. I never ever, I would never look at the last page or thumb through the book too much before I read it. But other than that, no, I don't have any superstitions. Number 5 is a what if question, and it is, I'll read it out to you completely. It's a long question. What if you were on a cruise ship in the Pacific Ocean? One evening, a freak wave washes you overboard. Through hanging on to some floating driftwood, you eventually are washed ashore on a deserted, sun-drenched island. During this time, your favorite book of all time is in a watertight sealed bag in a rucksack on your back, as luck would have it. Months go by. You build a shelter and fish for food. You are always hungry but never starving. One day, you take a walk along the island's beach shore. At the far end of the beach, you come across a man cooking food on a table. He is real. He offers you a glass of ice-cold milk, a very large pizza with lots of topping, and chocolate gateaux with cream. Confused, you say you have no money. And he says it's okay because you have 3 choices. You can A, give up your all-time favorite book for the meal and also get 1 meal a day for the next week. B, swap your all-time favorite book for 3 books on your TBR, which he can magically produce, though you get no food. Or C, walk away, get no food, and keep your favorite book. What do you do? Well, I'm eating. I know that although I am a foodie, so it might be tough for me if I was really, really always hungry, but I don't think I'd give up my all-time favorite book to get meals for a week. And I don't think I would just walk away and get no food and keep my favorite book. I think I'm going to choose B. I would give up my all-time favorite book for 3 books on my TBR, because if I'm on a desert island, being able to read, I want to say it would be more important to me than food. And I can always replace my favorite book. I'm going to go with B. It's the best of three choices. So that's where I'm going to go. What do you use as a bookmark? A standard bookmark, something sentimental, or any piece of paper to hand? When I was much, much younger, I dog-eared books all the time. I do not do that anymore. And of course, I read a lot on my Kindle, but I do have a couple of bookmarks that I will use. I don't have a lot of bookmarks anymore. My mother had sort of a collection, and I think my sister ended up with that. She worked in a library, so she found bookmarks constantly in books. But this was given to me as a gift, and it's got my initial on it, and it's just one of those little corner bookmarks. But I really like it, and I do use this one. And then if it's not right there, or if it's another book in another book or something like that, sometimes I will fold my own out of a piece of paper or whatever I've got. And that's what this is. It's made out of it's kind of dirty because I've used it quite a bit. It's made out of a sticky note, and you can fold it, and then I drew the happy face on it at the time when I folded it. So that's what I might use. If there's nothing around, then it could junk mail, whatever is close by. That's what I would use. Let's see. What is number 7? Do you buy more hardbacks or paperbacks, and why? Probably paperbacks. For a very special book, I might buy a hardback, but most of the time, and partly because of the expense of a hardback book, they're so expensive. Most of the time, I would buy a paperback, and if it was an author that I really loved, I might not wait for the paperback. I might go ahead and buy the hardback book. There's also some really pretty glossy hardback or paperback books that are a little better than like a trade paperback, but sometimes I would buy that. And so, but again, I don't buy a lot of books anyway. So, and this year is a no buy year for me for books. So, let's do number 8. If you were to find a secret unpublished sequel manuscript to a famous book, what would it be a sequel to? And when I think about famous books, I can't think of a great classic that I would want to read, that I would want to find a sequel to. However, one book that I read recently that I would like to know what happens next is The Marriage Portrait by Maggie O'Farrell. And it's a very good book. I loved it. And at the end, I really, really wanted to know more about, I think her name was Lucretia, and I would like to know more about Lucretia's life. So The Marriage Portrait is what I'm going to choose, although I don't know if that qualifies as a famous book, but that's my choice. Okay, another what if question here. You live exactly half a mile from a major bookstore. Example, Waterstones or Barnes & Noble. Exactly half a mile. No more and no less. The zombie apocalypse begins. Like all survivors, you raid supermarkets and pharmacies for lots of food, water, and medication, sufficient to last for months. You're holed up at home in a protected space. You begin to think of the bookshop, which probably won't have been looted. All those thousands of books and series available. Despite your existing book collection, what do? Do you risk it all for hundreds of free new books? And if so, how? I wouldn't do it. I have lots of books that I've never read. I don't mind rereading, and I'm I'm a safe person. I don't see myself going out. Just the fact that I might have gone out for supermarkets and pharmacies for food, water, and medication, that's a desperation thing, but I wouldn't go out to find a book. I would assume that the bookshop is empty, that it's already been raided. Number 10, when reading a book, do you just look at the words and read them, or do you use a finger or bookmark underneath the words to track your eye, or to track your eye progress? I don't use my finger. Occasionally, If I'm reading it to someone else or trying to show it to them, I might do that. Or if I'm reading something that has very small print and the lighting's bad or something like that, I might use a bookmark to. But normally, no. I just read the words. Number 11. Have you personally met any authors, and if so, who? I have, just a couple. The first one is Kent Harif, who wrote Plain Song. He at the time, that was the only novel that that was the most popular novel at that time. I was at a writers' conference, and he was the keynote speaker, and he had quite a bit of time just to mill around, and then he was behind his desk with all of his books that he was signing. And I had a short conversation with him at the desk. I think I was probably buying a book. I don't remember having it signed, so I'm not quite sure. But I just spoke to him briefly. He was a very nice man. He's since passed, and he was very down to earth. And his both when I spoke with him as well as just when he spoke to the crowd in general, when he gave his keynote address, it was very, very casual. The other author that I've met and spoken to in person was David Sedaris, and that was at the University of Kansas. It might have been Leeds Center, but I can't remember exactly. It's in Lawrence, Kansas, and he was there about the time he was talking about the book that he had just published. But he's a wonderful speaker, and he is just as funny in person as he is in when you see him on television or when you read him. He's very funny, and this is the book that I took with me to have signed, and I had bought it. It says here I bought it at Borders for $25.99. So there's a hardback that I did actually buy. You can see I have the it's still there on the back, but he did sign it. We did speak briefly. The line was long, but he took time. He was doing something. He asked you before he signed it, would you like a picture of an animal? Because this, I don't remember why. But anyway, so here is what he gave to me. And that's what, I laughed so hard. But I don't know how well you can see it. I hope that's coming through okay, because I'm behind it, obviously. But this is dear to me, this book. When you are engulfed in flames. And I think part of it may have been, you can see it's a picture of a skeleton with a cigarette. I believe he was living in France at the time, and he did talk about his how difficult it was for him to quit smoking. And so that is one other author that I met. And then the last one was a gentleman named Charles Goosewell, and he was a writer for the Kansas City Star, and he had a Wednesday column. I used to look so forward to those Wednesday columns, and he also he came through part of something with PBS, and my mother-in-law was able to obtain tickets, and it was a fairly small venue. There were probably 50 people in the room, and he and his wife came and spoke. He was getting quite elderly at that time, but he was still super enjoyable and had a wonderful sense of humor. And he had written a book called The Chronicles of Rufus, and he had some hunting dogs that he had several generations of Rufus's puppies, I guess is what you would say, his progeny, I guess, if that's the right word. But anyway, that is how I met Charles Goosewell, and he was very kind and nice as well. And do you have any bookish memorabilia on certain authors or books? I don't think that I do. When I was I used to have a bell that I bought at the Laura Ingalls Wilder Home and Museum in Mansfield, Missouri, when I was probably 10 years old. I was taken specifically there. We live in Kansas, and it was a good long trip, but I went, and I remember that I got a blue satin bookmark and a bell that had a little insignia that had a picture of Laura Ingalls Wilder or something like that on it. The bell broke, and so I don't have it anymore, and I do not know what happened to the bookmark. But those were the only pieces of memorabilia I can think of, except for my signed David Sedaris book. What if, here's another what if. What if the world is about to suffer a cataclysm, but you have managed to get a space in a public underground nuclear bunker where you will live for 12 months? You are only allowed to take 5 books with you into the bunker. What do you take and why? And I've heard several people talk about these, and because I just decided I'm not going to let myself cheat, maybe just a tiny bit. But the first book that I would take is the Bible, and I have a specific Bible that I would take. It's called the First Century Bible, and it gives you a lot of context into the times that the different books of the Bible were written, and more of the history, which I think would be so interesting. I've never read it completely through from cover to cover. I've not done that. So the Bible's one. I would also take the complete works of William Shakespeare, because I've not read all of Shakespeare. I've read the easy ones that I already knew the story, but I've not read him, and I would really enjoy. I really, really would like to be able to say I've read all of William Shakespeare, and I guess I'd have the opportunity. The Norton Anthology of Short Fiction would be the next one, and I don't know which edition, but if I could just have one, that would be fine. And also the Norton Anthology of Poetry and Short Stories. No, I'm sorry, the Norton Anthology of Poetry. So both the short fiction and the poetry, I would want both of those anthologies. And so what have I got? 1, 2, 3, 4. And then for the 5th one, I think I would take, this one's hard for me. I think I would take the complete short stories of Flannery O'Connor. I've read most of them, but they, you get something new every time you read them. I pick up on something. So I think that would be my 5th one. This was hard for me to decide. I also considered Ernest Hemingway, but I think I've settled on Flannery O'Connor since this isn't real anyway. How long ago did you realize your book buying number was much greater than your actual reading number? I've always known that that I had a lot of books around, but probably in shortly after I first got married, because we were on a tight budget and we were always watching how much money we spent, and I was always buying books. So I think during that time I probably realized that I have way more books than what I've read, and even now on my Kindle I have quite a few to be read. It's kind of inspired my no book buying year for 2026. So, and then the very last one is to tag others, and and also any booktubers that were mentioned in my video. And I should have said this up front, and I'm gonna look for this real quick because I wrote it down, and I meant to say this tag came from, I'm going to tell you, I promise, by Paul at the Accidental Bookseller. So that was who created this tag, and I was tagged by Pat at Book Chat with Pat. So those are the two that are mentioned here. I will be tagging a couple of people below in the comments, etc. And also, if you enjoyed this and it's something that you'd like to do and you've not already been tagged, because I know it's been around for a while, so not real long, but this has been around for a while. So if you would like to do it, tag, you're it. So otherwise, y'all have a good day. Be kind to yourself, be kind to others, be kind to the planet, and have a blessed day. I'll see you later. Bye-bye.